This is a short episode that I like to call Voice Notes from Linn, and these are especially made for Substack. So in these shorter episodes, I will share something that have sparked my thinking. Maybe it might be something from a recent conversation I had with somebody, or it might be through something that I read or listened to, and that made me ponder and think further around these subjects, around food eating, body image, and more. And I hope that this would be helpful for you in your own recovery journey. And again, as always, thank you so much for being here. So this week, I was thinking that I wanted to share with you kind of a very common topic and theme that I have seen coming up in conversations with colleagues, but also in my clinical practice with my clients, and particularly early on in somebody's journey around healing their relationship with food eating and their body. And this is the question around, why do I have to let go of dieting? Sometimes I find that people have arrived, when they come in the door, they are at the point of feeling ready to let go of dieting because their body says no. But the mind says, well, I'm still not happy with my weight, with the shape of my body, what it looks like. I still want it to be different. I still want to lose weight. And, I can't do another diet, or I know I should be letting go of weighing myself or measuring things out or restricting food groups or whatever it is. And when I also then talk to professionals in some of the trainings that I have the privilege of being a part of delivering, is that, the reason why we have to put weight loss to the side and not as an active pursuit. And that's what I kind of wanted to talk about today. Because it's a really hard question, I think, and it might be really difficult to understand why I believe that it's not possible to try to pursue both. And even at times when we say we might put weight loss on the back burner, that is often kind of just a way of helping people calm down and just sort of say, okay, I can come back to that later. And of course you can, but from a practitioner's point of view, it's not really going to be helpful to promise people that we will come back to it later and then pursuing it again for all the reasons that I want us to talk about in this voice note from Linn. So I suppose I wasn't always a non-diet practitioner, and so I will hand that up. I was somebody who had realized that my own journey of dieting, it didn't work. It was making me miserable. I couldn't stick to it, and I did have this epiphany that actually maybe it would be worth pursuing something else. But when I had originally then trained in nutrition, I didn't want to sort of pursue weight loss as the sort of goal, but I think I was still holding on to the belief that if we quote unquote eat right, and we move our bodies and we eat a wide variety of food and good quality food, that we will just lose weight. That's kind of like the natural order of things. Or when we heal our relationship with food and we stop binge eating and emotional eating, we're going to just lose weight. And the thing is, that happens to some people, but it doesn't happen to all people. And that doesn't make those bodies wrong or bad or whatever you want to put on that. It just is that some bodies have a set point that they're already happy with. And the other part that isn't talked about is that when we're healing our relationship with food, particularly if you come from a very restrictive place, and this can also be a restrict binge place, is that for some people, they actually gain weight, and that is a necessity for their body to feel healthy and content and for their brain to be adequately nourished. So, this is why I think, that it's just so important that we recognize that these are all real outcomes and that they are not about making anybody wrong. If this is how their body's responding, this is what our bodies are going to do. And to work towards holding the belief and the intention that our bodies are infinitely wise and they're not out to get us. They actually would want what's best for us. So I think in my own journey as a professional with this, like I had a business card years ago that said, lose weight without dieting, before I understood that that was an oxymoron. And part of the reason I think I was still holding on to this belief that all bodies will just somehow naturally get smaller if we just, again, eat whatever right is, but that doesn't happen, is that because I have a certain level of thin privilege by being in a body that's straight sized. It might not be very small, but I easily fit in seats. I don't have to worry about going on planes. I can buy clothes in most shops. And a big thing that I learned from my clients that have lived experience that were very different to mine was that when they went to the doctor with any type of condition, they were served unsolicited weight loss advice, regardless if they came in with a broken toe or wanted to talk about some other underlying health condition that wasn't really related to their weight at all. That it was always unsolicited weight loss advice without asking about that person's history with diet, if they'd had an eating disorder in the past, or if they had an eating disorder in the present that they were getting support with. None of that was often taken into consideration. And that was when I realized, I've never had that experience. That's when I realized, and every time I've gone to the doctor, which thankfully hasn't been too many times throughout my life, is that I've never had that. Nobody's ever kind of said, well, actually, if you lost weight, this would just magically go away. So I think it wasn't really until maybe 2016 or 17, so a few years ago now, when I learned about the systemic oppression that happens to bodies who are outside the societal norm. Because, like I said, I live in a body that fits relatively well with in their typical societal beauty standards, regardless of what I personally think about it. So when I learned about that and realized that that wasn't congruent with my own personal nor professional values, I just really couldn't pursue intentional weight loss as something that I would be happy or willing to support people with. So that was something that I personally made. And I think when I say that is, I also want to recognize that even when we know that dieting doesn't work, that it isn't helpful, that is harmful, it also means that we're not wrong for wanting to change our body, for wanting our bodies to look different, for wanting to be smaller. That is not the same things to hold those desires for ourselves as to actively pursue them, because it's the pursuit that is not helpful, doesn't work, and can be actually harmful to our relationship with food eating in our bodies. So I don't want you to feel bad about yourself if you're still carrying those beliefs and wants and desires, because that makes so much sense when we live in a culture that is valuing thinness over anything else, or who is telling us that pursuing health is the same as pursuing thinness, which it really isn't. Or if being smaller would just simply make your life easier and protect you from maybe weight stigma and weight oppression. It makes so much sense. And we can also hold the same truth together with those that we don't have any evidence that it works for the vast majority of people. But the beauty is there's a lot of things that we can do to take care of ourselves that has nothing to do with weight loss as an outcome, but rather coming at it's from a deep sense of care for ourselves and our being. The other thing that I really wanted to mention in this voice note, and I'm not going to go rambling on and on about this forever, because I'm hoping that there will be longer episodes in the future where we can unpack some of this some more. And please come back and comment as well, because I'm happy to lead you or point you to other people who are also talking about this in so much more in depth, and who is creating great conversations and shares and looking at the scientific literature around all of these things. But when we move from the systemic system of diet culture and thin obsession and thinness as a top of the body hierarchy, and we move to kind of like the physiology of the impact of dieting and food restriction has on our body. And I often share this with my clients, is that, I don't know, it was years ago in a Facebook group with other non-diet professionals that I happen to be in, where this person shared this quote: when we are denying ourselves food when we are hungry, like on purpose here, I'm not talking about, when food isn't available, but when the food is available and we're denying ourselves food, even though we're hungry, that is telling our bodies in real time that it's not worthy of care. It is kind of it becomes a form of self-abuse. And of course, sometimes restriction can be this, like we are already denying ourselves food because we don't believe that we are worthy. But it may not start off as this. It may start off with the intention that I'm trying to be good, I'm trying to take care of myself. But it has a very different message to our bodies when we're telling them we're basically denying ourselves basic human needs in forms of food. So dieting then it becomes a form of oppression that we assert on ourselves. And often, we might deny ourselves food, rest, play, and connection, because dieting robs us of so many of these things that are centered around connection, where food plays a part. If we're worrying about, going out because we don't feel good in our bodies, we're denying ourselves connection with other people who care about us as a whole human being, as the person we are, not just what our bodies look like. So there's so many things that fits into this picture, and that, I don't know, like, I want you to invite to think about that. If you let go of dieting, what are the freedoms that you can gain? What are the things maybe that you're scared about as well if you let this go, if you put it down, and your relationship with food and eating and your body looked different to what it does today? What are the things that feels like possibilities or hopeful? What are the things that feels a little bit scary because maybe that's very new and different to think about it that way? What would it feel like to think about yourself and your body and your choices as already worthy without having to fix or change anything? So I think maybe that's enough for a short voice note to make you think about what life without dieting could be, if that's where you currently find yourself. And also maybe shining a little bit of light on why pursuing, like trying to make our bodies smaller while also trying to simultaneously heal our relationship with food and eating in our bodies are just not going to work, because they're antitheses to one another. One will affect the other. Like dieting harms our relationship with food and eating in our bodies, which is why it's going to be impossible to try to pursue that as a goal versus setting that goal that is very outcome oriented aside and leaning into more of a process. Yeah, I don't know, big questions maybe, but I would love to hear your thoughts. And feel free to message me privately as well, or drop me an email if you don't want to share your thoughts publicly. That's understandable too when we talk about these kind of sensitive topics. But yeah, anyway, thank you for listening to my little ramble today, and I will be back with another voice note soon. Take care. That was everything for this week. If you want to find out more, you can find me on my Substack. Joyful Nourishment, or you can go and visit my website www.straightforwardnutrition.com. And please come back to Substack and leave a comment if this have sparked your interest, if it had made you think, if you have something that you want to share that would be helpful for all of us in this community as we grow together. Again, thank you, and I'll see you soon.